Hi, and welcome to BizTech's AHA, the coaching show. This show is all about coaching and is produced in partnership with Corporate Coaching Academy. I'm Brian Fernandez, and today we explore the title, Coaching for Self-Exploration and Awareness. Now, to give us insights, we have a great guest today, Andreas Vogiatzakis. He's the founder of AMVPLUS Academy. Andreas, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me. And thanks to the Coaching Academy in MACC. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Now, Andreas, for a start, could you give us an overview of your very unique background and how you got into coaching post-corporate career?
Oh boy, how much time do we have? I'll be super quick if I can. I believe in synchronicity in the universe and that everything happens for a reason. So I'm Greek, born and raised, and life journey by divine intervention brought me to Asia in '97. Spent 5 years in Japan, 5 years in Taiwan, came to Malaysia in 2006. And about 14 years ago, I was sitting with a friend at that time in the Omnicom Media Group office, and she said, you gotta meet Mike. So mind you, I was a very powerful CEO, right? So I said, who the heck is Mike? I said, just meet him, and I think it's gonna be a beneficial meeting. The rest is history. So Dr. Michael came to my office. I thought I'd interview him. He was interviewing me. And I end up enrolling in the Corporate Coach Academy, graduated from there as a certified professional coach, ICF and all that. And I started practicing it. I thought that being a coach would really be beneficial for me to become better with my team leaders, be closer to them, guide them better, support them better. And it worked to a certain extent. My career has been always in media and advertising across the world, from the States to Greece to Japan and Taiwan. In Malaysia, I was 10 years with Omnicom Media Group, another 3 years with Havas Media, which I established here. And before I started what I'm doing now, I was the group CEO at the Star Media Group, the first Matsale to be there. A beautiful, amazing time. And in 2020, smack in the middle of the pandemic, I decided through a series of events that were completely unplanned to establish AMVPLUS and focus on leadership training and coaching, which now I'm doing fully 5 years later, more than 100 clients, more than 7,000 people through the programs. And it's a blessing, really. And so I focus what I do on leadership, on communication, on managing change, on emotional intelligence, on building high-performing teams. But that is by the way, afterwards. My main focus is self-awareness and self-development. I believe that if we don't fix the inside, no matter what you do on the outside is not going to be synchronized. And you don't get the outcomes you want. So in the end, you lead on what's inside. And so I focus it on personal development and self-awareness. For all these programs, for all these categories, they lead back to that. How do we develop ourselves? And the beautiful part of that is that in that process of guiding people to find out what's their purpose and what do they need to do, the best part of it for me, on a very selfish level, if I can say that, is that I discover myself. Because you cannot stand in front of 5, 10, 1,000, 2,000 people to talk and share and not be honest with yourself. I always say, always, and it's true, I hold the mirror for you to see yourself. And in exchange, I get all the mirrors that you hold from me. So I give you one, I get by 50. 1,000, 20. And it's a blessing because it pushes you to become better for you, first and foremost. So that's what I do. That's the background of the company and me. all that, the good, the bad, and the ugly throughout all these countries and companies. As I say, I worked for the British, I worked for the French, I worked for the Americans, the Greeks, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Taiwanese, the Malaysians. And that gives you a really colorful background on ethnicities, religion, different mindsets. I'm a rojak salad lah. And I love that. Sometimes sweet, sometimes spicy, and life is good, Brian. It's a blessing and a privilege, and it was, I think, by divine design to meet Michael and get into coaching, and then in 2020 to find out my path to do that. I'm an NLP coach as well, master practitioner, NLP trainer from Tad James Academy, and all that gets combined into making a slightly different output. So that's briefly the story.
Now, Andreas, one of the key things which stands out for me is obviously the fact that you've been a leader globally, and so you bring very unique insights to the Malaysian market in terms of leadership coaching. Now, fundamentally, you've chosen to focus on self-exploration and awareness.
Right.
Now, that's literally a building block, isn't it?
Yeah,
of
that's
leadership.
Right. That's right.
Now, walk us through really, some of the key things that you help people discover, especially leaders, because that's going to impact how they manage their team, their company, and
Yes.
how they achieve results.
That's right. That's right. Well, let me throw some theory, right? I love it, though. I love it because it leads back to my purpose. And I'll give you my purpose as I distilled it to be. When you look at the work of Goleman, who does an incredible work on emotional intelligence, and many times together with the Harvard Business School and Harvard Business Review, he says that the components of delivery and of execution and of success is self-awareness, social awareness, self-management. And so when you start from self-awareness, that leads also to social awareness if you work at it, and also self-management, which is very, very important, talking about emotional intelligence, collaboration, having difficult conversations, assertiveness, and all of the feedback. And if you end up having your self-management and your social awareness, meaning you understand the model of the world of other people and what it means to them, because it might be one thing, but it's not, because you perceive different things. In fact, from everything I say now, anyone who listens will take something different because they filter it through their model. So social awareness enables you to understand the other person's point of view. So you manage yourself, self-management, you are socially aware. That leads to building relationships inside and outside the company. And these relationships, eventually managed right, bring performance. So now let's go backwards. What do we want on a business setting, right? Performance, of course.
Absolutely.
Measurable
and performance also. Yeah. And I want to stress this: when companies engage coaches and basically to help fix problems, or perhaps then coach people to a higher level, not even fixing a problem, but bringing higher levels of performance.
Yes.
These outcomes need to be measured.
Yes. The goals need to be smart. Smart goals are key, right? However, to arrive to that outcome, to performance, let's walk backwards in what I just said, right? Where does it lead? To get performance, you need relationships, you need collaboration, you need cooperation, you need high-performing teams. How do you build that? Social awareness, self-management. Where is that stemming from? It goes back to self-awareness. And so when I'm called to do things with teams and mostly senior people, I work like almost exclusively with very, very senior people, C-suites, senior managers, and they want to achieve tangible results, performance, I always take it back to self-awareness. The initial reaction from many people is like, huh? So I explain the model to them. If you don't change the inside, you will never achieve the outside. In the end, especially when you come at the crossroads and the going gets tough and the waters are rough, you end up leading based on what is inside, 100%.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
therefore, to manage your leadership to bring the results, you need to know what's inside. What are my areas that I need to work on, to change, to transform, to be able to lead better, to adjust my style to the situation, situational leadership, to make sure that I become a coach for my team members and my senior people. They don't expect you to do the job. They expect you to give the direction and the support. Here is, for example, I'll give you a very classic example that happens, I would say 98%. Sometimes when I do my training programs, I put the number behind the flip chart. We take the assessment and I tell them I bet $100 and a meal if that number is correct. But I'm not going to give you the number. First, you take the assessment, then we'll look at the number and see if I'm right. And I always put 98%. And so we take the assessment on what kind of leadership style they have. These are senior people. Most of them are senior leaders who have been promoted because they were fantastic managers and they did a fantastic job as a manager, hands-on, right? I was one of them, I know. So we get promoted to senior leadership positions, but nobody tells us what we really need to do. What do we need to change? So we end up being senior leaders who are excellent managers. So we stick our fingers on everything. And therefore, our style of leadership is never delegating. So the 98%, I tell them 98% of you will be almost zero on being a leader who delegates. And I am almost 100% right. I said, why? Because it's hard to let go. And
Andreas, can I ask you, is this something which you've seen across your different experiences in different markets, or is this a uniquely Malaysian?
No, everywhere, unique, not unique to Malaysia. And therefore, my point is, if you don't understand that as a leader, that your limitation is that you cannot delegate, you can alienate people, you can lose people because they will feel you don't trust them.
You're micromanaging them. And this is the complaint that exactly. You hear all the time from people. Right. I'm being micromanaged. I know what I'm doing.
So you need to change your internal process in order to change the outside and bring results and not lose people and build high-performing teams. So I had to explain that because it leads back to self-awareness. And it leads back to, who am I? What am I doing? What do I want? How do I want to do it?
Andreas, now, can I ask you a very important question? And this is also cultural differences.
Sure.
Leaders sometimes don't like to be told and don't like to be also told specifically that you are lacking in these areas or you need to improve. Now, that culturally is handled differently with different cultures.
Yes.
How do you find that happens in the Malaysian context?
You're absolutely right, Brian. And here there are cultural nuances because in most, like you take all the folks from down under or the Western world, they're very direct. So you can tell them, hey, this one you need to improve. If you want this, do that. Straightforward. Over here, it's a different path. What I do is number one, the most critical part, I need to establish trust between me and my coachee. If I don't establish trust, I will never succeed. So that's my number one goal. And in order to do that, it's not his or her job, it's my job. I need to disclose. I need to make them trust me. Number two, I need to believe that they will do it. If I, as a coach, does not believe that my coachee will succeed in whatever the goal is, it will never happen. Number three, I open their mindset. So from the very get-go, from the very, very beginning, my goal is to make them see. I don't tell them anything, let them discover it. And I do that through assessments, through discussions, the coaching principles, powerful questions, dig deeper to move them and make them think. And I will never tell them your weakness is this. The area that folks, they have to discover it. And once you discover it, you get from the unconscious incompetence level, which is a very comfortable one because you don't know what you don't know, to
Yes.
the conscious incompetence level. Oops, now I know what I didn't know. What am I going to do with it? 99.9999% of them, once they arrive to that level, they start the journey on their own to go to the conscious competence level until they reach the unconscious competence, right? You are good and it's second nature. And so that's what I do, because as I tell them, I'll open the door for you, but I cannot push you through. You need to take that step by yourself. And it's also true because there's no point. These are senior people. These are people who have gone through so many things. These are people who have so much pressure on the shoulders. And sometimes they don't know what to do. However, in most cases, definitely in mine, nobody gives them the license to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is a taboo. I pay you the money as my CEO to know all the answers, to know what to do, to manage the crisis. Don't tell me you don't know. Don't tell me you're afraid. Don't tell me you're scared. Nobody gave me that license. And it's lonely at the top. You don't know what to do, but you're paid the money to be the CEO or whatever, the senior team leader. To whom do you talk to? And once you realize that, and once I give you that license, things start changing. Because when you see what you need to change, and you understand that the only way to go where you want to go is through that change, almost 100%, Brian, they do it. Me too. And so, to me, for all these senior leaders, it's a matter of seeing themselves. And to your question specifically, with me, because I established that trust and that connection, I tell them my stories. And I tell them more that I tell to my trainings publicly, because they need to know. They need to know what I've been through. I've been setting companies, structuring companies. I have been reorganizing companies. And in that journey, in so many different countries and organizations, I was scared. Many times I didn't know what to do. And I was scared to death to ask that I don't know. And I had to cover that up. You know what's the biggest question that I got during the pandemic when I started what I'm doing now? And it was always asked to me in a very meek way. Hey, AV, do you know this, how you call it, the imposter syndrome thing? Including me, Brian. Do you know how many senior people suffer from that? I'll tell you this. In the last 4.5, 5 years almost, I have been the coach for over, I don't know, I count them all, but I don't have the number of hand, more than 50 senior VPs and C-suites, right?
Okay.
In all of them, even though the discussion starts about business, 100% of the time, it goes back to childhood, it goes back to emotions, it goes back to vulnerability. We're human people. We have emotions. We have needs that precede the business stuff. However, in a business setting, say when I was the CEO of the Star, right? How the heck am I going to go to the board and say, I'm scared? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine?
Thank you very much. We'll get your replacement sorted out.
Yes, exactly. So you don't do. So you stay back and it hurts. And that is what we need to fix. It's important. It's very important. The rest may be tough, however, doable. The most difficult part is the esoteric part, the insight part, the self-awareness part. And if I don't know what I don't know, how am I going to know what I don't know so I know what I know and do what I need to do in order to bring results?
And Andreas, just having our conversation over the last 20 minutes, one of the key things, and it's such a simple message, and I that you've actually shared, which is such an important message. If I'm a leader, and whether it's a Sime Darby or whether it's any other public listed company or even a 50-person company, if I haven't fixed myself, very likely the organization will not perform at a level that it should under my leadership, however good I am.
100%. 100%, Brian. You hit the nail on the head completely. I so firmly believe in that. And I had cases where senior people said, you know what, I don't care. That's how I lead. If they don't like it, they can go. I replace them. Like, okay, no problem. If you don't want to change your mindset, there is nothing I can do. That's fine. That's totally fine. But then they bear the consequences. And what you said is completely right. What happens in your private life, how you grow up, what your values are, what guides you when you're at the crossroads. I published this book in 2021, Courage at the Crossroads. And the whole point was that when I started my business, I wanted to write a book on leadership. You know, every acclaimed leadership trainer has to have a book on leadership. And after 2 months, right? After 2 months of writing it, I thought, what kind of terrible stuff, to watch my language, is this? So I stopped. I threw it in the trash bin and I started new. And I thought, let me take the courage to write my own story. And through that, it's not a special one, really. Like you said in the beginning, it's not unique. I have my hands, I have my legs, I'm healthy. I'm not like Nick Vogiatzakis, who has no hands, no legs, and climbs up Kilimanjaro, right?
Yeah.
But I thought about saying that, courage at the crossroads, because I realized that that is everywhere. What are values? When you take decisions every day, critical decisions, like the decision for me to leave the Star, to resign. It was one of the toughest decisions of my life. What guides you? What are your principles? How do you guide yourself, your friends, your family, your loved ones? How do you guide your teams? And all of that comes from inside. And don't take it from me. I'll give you a very powerful, shocking, and true statistic. 3 years ago, Harvard Business Review with Goldman, they did this research to understand what constitutes successful leadership. You can Google it on Harvard Business Review, you'll find it. About 4 years ago. And get this, only 10% of successful leadership is attributed to IQ, your skills, your knowledge, your ability to execute, 10%. The 90%, 90, is attributed, all that 90%, to emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence in the components of empathy, connection, and guess what? Self-awareness, number one. So back to Goldman, it all leads to there. I can't run the car fast. You might have a Ferrari if it has a faulty engine inside that everybody sees the outside. Nobody sees the cylinders that go like this, right? You gotta fix that. If you don't fix that, the beautiful, amazing Ferrari, it'll stop. And that's the whole point. I love coaching. I love NLP. It changed me, changed my life, because I took that decision to see inside and say, hey, look in the mirror. I can't lie to myself. I was for many years. I was angry. I was unhappy. I was in the blame game. And I decided to follow 3 things that changed me. And I believe in them like religion. I practice them. I I don't teach them. I'm not a trainer or a teacher. I share them, and many people find them powerful. Number one, do you want to be the cause or the effect? If you choose to be the effect, you are the blamer. It's everybody else's fault but yours. If you are the cause, then you make things happen to your life. Number two, for everything that happens to me, let me leave that to the third. Let me go to the third and I'll make it two. Number two, do I want results or do I want excuses? Choose one of the two. If you want results, you will not blame anything and anybody. You focus on what you want to get and you go get it. If A doesn't work, you do B. If B doesn't work, you do C. You exhaust the entire alphabet, all the alphabets of the world, until you get what you want. You bring results. And number three, that I made it number three, which is the toughest, and it is probably the catalyst for the other two, to be the cause and to bring results. No effect, no excuses, is to take 100% responsibility for everything that happens to you. Not only for everything that you do, but for everything that happens to you. Think about it for a moment. It's very different and very difficult. A friend of mine said, wait a minute, if somebody hits me from the back in the car, it's my fault? I'm not saying don't claim insurance. Of course, you're not stupid. However, whose responsibility is it? If you take 100% responsibility, if you decide to take 100% responsibility for everything that happens to you in your life, you become the cause, because you will change your inner game. You will change the model of the world that doesn't fit in what you want to achieve to bring results. So it changes you as an individual. It changes you as a leader. And so back to self-awareness. Are you the cause or the effect? Do you want results or excuses? Do you take 100% responsibility for everything that happens to you? Can you imagine how powerful that is? Because if you say, I want to be a leader that brings results, that inspires people, that connects with people, that becomes the person to go to when you have a problem and we find solutions together, to be the coach of my team, what do you need to change first? Your inner game. And then the rest is beautiful. I hope that makes sense.
Andreas, it's been a fascinating conversation and I've really been inspired. But before we leave, I need to get you to answer one very important question. It's 2025, it's the start of the year, and literally there's a multitude of events that are happening around the world that are shaping how leaders think. What advice would you give CEOs today in terms of focusing in 2025?
That's a powerful question, Brian, and $1 million question. Our world is changing. I love technology, and AI is here to stay, ChatGPT, all of that stuff. It's changing our world. It's already different. It never goes back, and it is challenging. And I think that I can't give advice. I will only share what works with me, and then up to everybody on what works for them. I would say a few things. Number one, look in the mirror. What do you see? Look in the mirror honestly, just you and you. That's it. Nobody else. You cannot lie to yourself. What are the areas that you need to work on? Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So find a trusted advisor, find a coach, so they can help you see from a different angle what you can't see, and therefore be aware. Destroy your limitations. Believe. Adopt these three practices. Be the cause, not the effect. Choose results, not excuses, and take 100% responsibility. Build your strengths. Build your SMART goals for yourself first. Build your emotional intelligence to really understand others and bring social awareness, and also self-management once you know who you are. Who are you then? What's your purpose? What do you want to achieve today? What value do you want to add to the journey of other people that you interact with? Family, friends, loved ones, business associates, clients. What do you want? And I think that once you look in the mirror, and sometimes we do need some help. I have coaches myself because nobody's perfect, right? There are always blind windows. There are always areas that others see that you don't know. And unless you proactively ask for feedback, constructive feedback, and you drop your ego, you leave your ego at the door, you will never see what you can't see, because that's the way it goes. So get a coach, see yourself in the mirror, be honest with yourself, adopt these 3 principles, and remember, I always remember that at the end of the day, please remember that you only lead on the outside based on what is inside, especially when the waters are rough in the storm. And like my mom said, the good captain shows in the storm. And the storms also make the good captain. Everybody can sail the ship in the calm waters. So over to everybody to be the catalyst of change. That's my purpose that I mentioned before. I want to be a catalyst of change, of positive change and self-awareness to people that I interact. If I do that, then I add value to their journey. And I get that in multiples. So selfishly, I do it for myself.
Andreas, on that note, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very, very much. Thanks to all. I know there is a team behind you that helps and arranges things. So I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to all of them. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you very much. We've been speaking to Andreas Vogiatzakis, Leadership and Self-Awareness Coach and Executive Director at AMVPLUS Academy. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to BizTech's AHA, the coaching show, which is produced in partnership with Corporate Coaching Academy. The show will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.